All right, and I believe we're live. Guys, hello, how are you? Thank you to those who are joining me this evening here, this night. Um, we're going to have a brief broadcast. It's not going to be a long one. If you've noticed, the last several broadcasts that I've been doing have been more short and concise, so I can get some more, messages and insights to you guys. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the briefness, the conciseness of those. So that's where we're at, all right? Let me know here in the chat if you guys can hear me good and see me, and I'm going to get right on to roll with the message of the day, the broadcast, and that'll be that. Gen Z, Mac Danny. Yes, thank you. All right, thank you, Gen Z. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, we're going to keep this broadcast kind of short. I'm going to deliver a couple of, key messages here. The main purpose of this is to bring you some, some insightful wisdom. That way you can take that and, implement that in your life, okay? And hopefully, guys who are watching in, whether you watch the replay or you're here in the chat, if you're enjoying the more short live stream broadcasts, let me know in the comments below. All right. Give this video a thumbs up. Thank you, Mac Zanny Mac. Thank you. Okay. And hold on. Okay. Okay. All right, we're going to get started. All right. So this broadcast is titled New Beginnings, right, with Scorpio season. And really what that means here, guys, is that if you are familiar with anything regarding, Scorpio, it really embodies like full transformation. It is the equivalence of when you kind of like shed your skin and shed the layers of, your old self, and then you come into like your new self, right? And that's a key element that you want to do some internal reflection and seeing where that could be being prevalent in your current life right now. If you feel at this point in time of the juncture that you have part of yourself, right, that maybe you're clinging on to, and then you know that you're growing into something else, and maybe you can't quite put your finger on it or whatever that might be. So wherever you are in that situation, guys, shedding the old layers of yourself and then coming into the newness of the new parts of you. And then, of course, the new feels uncomfortable, right? Because whenever we're going through growth, evolution, and transformation, it's it doesn't really always feel the greatest, because we're kind of like having like surrendered to old parts of ourselves and coming into a new place of ourselves. With your identity, right? With your perspective, with your ways of life, how you perceive the world. And so a lot of these elements, guys, are going to be very key into how you move yourself forward, how you advance forward with your life, okay? If you haven't felt a lot of shifting, right, the perspective, the shifting, if you have not already yet felt major insights and downloads coming into you at this point in time, then you will, soon, right? So so with that being said, guys, we're moving from old ways of thinking, old ways of being, old ways of doing things, to new ways of thinking, new ways of being, and new ways of, becoming, right? So we're shedding the skin, we're shedding the layers of ourselves, and we're moving into the newness of who we are. And that process is a a little tricky because some parts of ourselves will want to resist and deny the newness of where we're going. And then other parts of ourselves are going to want to hold on to what's familiar, what's known, right? But just because something is familiar and just because something is known, it doesn't mean that it's serving you at your best self, right? So it's very important, it's very key that we do look at ourselves, right, from both introspective and then also taking a step back and looking at our life from the more macro perspective. This is a key element if you are looking to really truly grow from where you currently are, where you've been, and where you're going, right? So you can't grow and you can't evolve who you are at the core self if you're not willing to take those moments where you look within yourself, right? And then when you step back and look out, you know, from the macro viewpoint, from the bigger picture. So we're going to be seeing a lot of duality here taking place. This is Scorpio season, known for the extremities, the polarities, the duality. You have night and dark, light, you know, light and night and day, light and dark. You got all the extremities coming in, and what you're going to be noticing is where you fall in certain experiences. Maybe in one experience you're on that extreme, and then on this experience you're on this extreme, right? And you're going to be learning to kind of balance yourself as you witness yourself, right? You're witnessing yourself in motion in real time, and you're going to be looking at integrating, right, the elements of who you are. All right. It's a process and it is a journey, and it can be very challenging and very difficult because this is what I would call like doing the work on yourself, right? Doing the work on yourself. All right. So what I want for people to understand here at this juncture, it's at a crossroads, right? You're at a pivoting point. You want to jump all in and you want to make the right moves because that is where your life is going. That direction is going there. Okay. Not only that, you want to really, you really want to make the right decisions, you know, for yourself, right? This is your life. You get one life. And how do you want to live this life? Do you want to live this life empowered, or do you want to live this life being a slave to circumstances around you? And sometimes it is a matter of shifting our perspective, our mindset. As small as it may appear or seem, doing such a, you know, a pivoting point with your perspective really truly gives you all the insight that you need to really, you know, come into your own power, right? So I want to also talk about here forward movement. Once you take those steps forward, all right, once you're in the unknown, right, you want to learn how to step confidently in the darkness, in the abyss. You want to learn how to step in there and stay in that realm. Even when you can't see something in your, you know, in your visibility, nothing looks familiar, you don't know where you're walking, it looks completely like your darkness. You want to learn how to trust your intuition. Our last broadcast, we covered, you know, trusting your intuition. That couldn't be more relevant than ever because right now, the external world may not be the right indicators of what is happening within yourself and what's happening going forward, right? So you want to always trust your internal signal, your internal compass. That intuition is going to always lead you right where you need to go, all right? And sometimes we kind of forget to touch base with our inner self, right? You want to align up mind, body, heart, and soul, right? You want to find the full line of equilibrium. All right. So let me know if that does make sense. I'll keep going forward. So you want to keep that forward momentum, even despite not knowing where you're going, where you're stepping, okay? You want to have, you want to learn to trust in yourself as you're taking steps in unfamiliar territory, I'm going to repeat that again. You want to learn to build the inner confidence, right? Building your intuition, being able to trust yourself on the inside when you're taking steps and it doesn't look like you're making any progress, when you can't see left, right, or forward, right? Imagine a place where it's foggy and it's dark and it's unknown and you've never been there before, right? This is almost like the new self. When you're leaving the old self and you're shedding parts of the old parts of you, right? The parts that no longer serve you, and you're coming into the newness of who you are, it feels uncomfortable, like growing pains, right? But in this process, the key part here, the key part of this process, guys, is to make sure that when you step into the newness of who you are, that you learn to follow your inner self, right? You don't want to seek external validation. It's one of my mottos. I'm always saying all the time, do not seek external validation. Why? Because not those elements where you're seeking for external, approval, external validation, that's not going to give you the right insight, right? You want to go within and know where you stand, because it's you, right? It's between you and you. You can always check in with loved ones or close people that you do trust, but not first. You want to always check in with yourself first, right? Before going to find approval or affirmation, being affirmed by others around you, okay? That's how you really do learn to be your best self, right? And the whole purpose here is to grow, evolve, and be your best self. Because at the end of the day, if you're not growing, like my favorite, all the gurus in like personal development, there's a motto. Either you're growing or you're dying. I know that may seem a little drastic, but that is the reality, because either you're growing, right, and you're accomplishing, either you're growing and you're taking on new adventures, new journeys, and you're challenging yourself. You're rising to the occasion. You're going to, jump in, right? Or you're dying, which means you're just, hands off the wheel. No one's in the driver's seat. You don't know you're drifting, right? So which one are you at, right? Are you growing or are you dying? There's no in between. Trust me, there's not. So ask yourself those questions, because that's the reality. Oh, hey, Plumie. Hey, see my tutu. Gen Z. Yes, I'm here. I'm only going to give a quick message, guys. It's a very quick message. That's all. And then I was going to go hang out on Discord just with whoever wants to hang out with me there. Unless people want to hang out here, whatever it is. But I had made a promise to myself that I would do several broadcasts on Scorpio season. For those who do not know, my birthday is November 12th. I am a Scorpio. So tomorrow, Thursday, is my birthday, people. Thank you for being with me and coming in. I appreciate that, all right? I do. All right. Okay. So let's just complete the insight, guys, and the message, because this is very important. If you are someone who is committed to your own personal development and your own personal growth, then I want you to really take this message with intention. You are only able to grow, right, as long as you're willing to put yourself out of your comfort zone. And when you're not in your comfort zone, when you are in your comfort zone, then you're kind of just staying with the status quo. You're comfortable. You're not looking to really go outside the lines, right? Now, there are moments in life where that's okay to do. But for the majority of us, right, and given points on our life journey here, we must be pushing ourselves to our limits, pushing ourselves to the edges, because at the edges, guys, at the edges is the sweet spot. At the edges is the growth. It's uncomfortable and it's scary and it's unfamiliar. But when we're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone and at the edges, at the very edges, that is when you feel so alive. If you don't feel alive, if you're missing the spark, if you feel dead inside, it's because you're not looking at yourself. You're not looking at the mirror. Go in the mirror and go look at yourself. Face yourself face to face. Go find a mirror, your bathroom. No one has to watch you do this. Go find the mirror, okay? Look at yourself, okay? And ask and talk to yourself. Who are you? Now, most people who've never done this before, okay, it'll be uncomfortable, right? But let me tell you, I've did this before. Oh, yes, I have. And at first, it feels weird. Definitely feels weird at first. But what happens, right, if you're open to really uncovering the depth of you, things open up. It gets kind of a little emotional. I cried because you get to see inside your own soul in a mirror. And the mirror doesn't lie, right? It doesn't lie. There is a thing called mirror work that I know Louise Hayes from she's deceased now, but she was one who created mirror work, and I'm a big proponent of mirror work. I'm not saying you do mirror work forever, but you do it as part of your journey of like self-discovery and facing who you really are at your core, right? When you face yourself in the mirror, let me tell you, but with intention, right? When you do it with intention, I'll tell you this much. If you can look at yourself in the mirror and, right, breathe, relax, and you ask you're not asking, you first just be paused. No words, no thought, just be paused, right? Breathe it out and tell yourself, I love you. I love you, Katrina. And pause. Say it again. You keep saying it until your soul is speaking right back to you. Now, it does get emotional if you're able to really go to the depth of it, all right? But what it does do is it begins to bring up the inner part that has been hidden, the part that's been buried, the part that we have suppressed, right? And that's beautiful because we want that part of ourselves to come back up to the surface. We want that. If we don't want that, then we're shoving away who we really are, and we're never going to tap into the true core of ourselves, okay? Now, that can be challenging for those who, have no interest in growing and developing, and that's fine, right? This process isn't for everyone, and this journey, you can just drift your way and coast your whole way. That's totally fine with me. No big deal. Or you can live with intention. When you live with intention, that means you're living with conscious awareness and self-awareness, all right? And as you're living with self-awareness, conscious intention, everything begins to be brought to be dealt with, right? No more hiding behind the problems that we've, suppressed throughout childhood or adolescence, right? No more hiding behind like the areas of our life that we're not really proud of, okay? That could be difficult for most people, right? Because who wants to face those parts of oneself, right? And I understand that, I do. But there is a process that is so beautiful, and not only that, what happens in the journey of that self-discovery process is something that you can never put a price on, all right? And so the real you begins to surface, and you begin to deal with areas of your life that maybe you had long forgotten about. And we are in Scorpio season, and Scorpio is such a deep sign. Nothing is hidden from the Scorpio. And even parts of yourself cannot be hidden from yourself, right? So you, of all people, all of you in the audience here who watch the replay, what's happening right now for everyone, whether you're aware of it or not, is that parts of yourself are being revealed to yourself like a mirror, all right? If you can acknowledge it and see it for what it is, then you're at least a step ahead of the game, right? If you can't see it for what it is and you're denying it, well, then you have more way to go, more way to go on the journey. But if you felt something kind of different happening and taking place, what's probably been taking place is the parts of you are coming up to be acknowledged, right? Think about when you're a child, right? And your parents don't acknowledge you. what happens? Lower self-confidence, lower self-esteem, seeking external validation because you can't get it from your parents, you can't get the love and nurturing from your parents, you can't get recognition from anywhere else. Then you begin to not feel worthy, right? Then you live a life of lack and scarcity. So you got to witness yourself in real time. You have to be the observer of you, be the witness of you, be the observer of you, and be the case subject at the same time. You can do it. If you can do this, you owe it to yourself to attempt it, all right? Witness yourself in real time, right? As you, the person, and then, of course, the observer. And just watch what's happening. Right now, life is being mirrored to you, all elements of yourself. If you can't see it right now, then that's fine. If you can see it or you feel like there's something happening anyways, consider the elements, areas of your life that you have probably suppressed or oppressed for so long are coming up to be handled with. And not for punishment. No, of course not. Areas of yourself want to be recognized. Think about this. The parts you repressed and suppressed of who you are, the areas where you said, well, no, we can't deal with that. We can't deal with this, right? Those parts of you are crying out to you like a child. They're crying to you, yourself. It's crying, it's asking, it's begging, it's pleading. It's pleading, right? It wants to be acknowledged just like it was when it happened. This is the time. This is the time where you face it. You acknowledge it, the part of yourself. Give it the love, the attention, the nurturing, the compassion. Hold the space for part of you that maybe you kind of like disassociated from long ago, right? When you can accept that there's parts of you that maybe you're not proud of, parts of you that maybe, you don't want to really kind of go back in, right? For whatever reason. These parts of yourself are coming to the surface and are begging and pleading to be acknowledged. Can you blame it? Can you blame those parts of yourself? Hey, the introverted thinker, how are you? So let me know at this point, guys, does that make sense? Those who are here in the chat? I know that was like more personal and deep, very personal and deep. So maybe I always understand that people don't want to really, talk about those parts of ourselves. So I understand that element. I certainly do. But I want to remind you guys that there are areas of your life, okay? There are areas of your life that have been suppressed, repressed, and oppressed for we don't know how long, right? Normally these things that we kind of like, buried and tucked away kind of stem from childhood, right? Childhood wounding, right? And right now, during this season of Scorpio season, it's being risen to the surface to be acknowledged, right? If you're the child who's screaming for help, right? Or, hey, look at me. You know how most people, if you were very fortunate to have a very good, healthy childhood, then maybe your parents did give you the love and nurturing that you had. That's beautiful. But let's just assume that you didn't have that, right? Let's assume you didn't have both parents, not one parent. Maybe you had no parents, right? Maybe you were raised by grandparents, or maybe there's endless situations that could be playing out, right? Where you took on identities that maybe you had to like learn to work without all parts of who you really are. That makes sense, guys? And so in that process, in that journey of suppressing areas of our life, okay, in that process, we learn to neglect areas of ourselves out of survival, okay? Out of survival, we learn to abandon parts of ourselves, right? To survive. We can't have that part come up. We can't have this part. We can't acknowledge this situation. We can't do that. And so what happens? What happens, guys? What happens is those parts become dormant, non-existent, and we close the box there, and we live life over and over. We become adults, right? You've childhood to adolescence, then to adult life, and then to more maturity in life. What happens? We've never addressed those situations. We have not addressed yet the areas of our life that we have, learned to cope with, right? Now, coping with the oppression is not the right solution. That's survival mechanism. Okay, so get from survival to now I'm going to confront all areas of myself so I can bring all of me into wholeness. Because the objective here, guys, is to really develop oneself. Know thyself, know who you are. And to know who you are, it does mean you got to go into the unknown. Some of that's kind of scary. It is. Parts of it you've locked with a key and chain and a lock, and you've thrown it. I never want to open that box ever again. I locked that box, and I never want to go to that box again. Now, I understand why we do this, right? That's human nature. But what's happening is you live all these years, and you've not really dealt with the fullness of yourself. And during this season, with the alignment of planetary systems right here, and during this experience, guys, we are now more than ever being shown the mirror. Whether we like it or not, life is showing us exactly who we are. Life is showing us where we got to go. It's right there in our face. We have to take the jump and leap toward the right place, the right direction, okay? And in that experience, guys, in that process, it will be uncomfortable, of course. To face your own self, the areas of your life that you don't want to go back and look into, can be difficult. Yes. But right now, those parts of yourself are begging and screaming to be acknowledged, like a child. Imagine a child. Just imagine this as a metaphor, a child who was neglected or abandoned or left, right? Those same parts in yourself, right, are now asking for you to be with it, not to go through the pain points of it, no, not to relive the pain, no, but it's asking to come into like self-forgiveness, forgiving yourself for locking it away, forgiving yourself for not knowing how to deal with it at that point in time, right? It's not that you're forgiving the person who hurt you or wronged you. It's not about saying what they did was right. Nope. What's happening is parts of yourself want to be healed. How do you heal yourself? You heal yourself by acknowledging, holding the space for the parts of you that want so desperately to be heard, like a child. All right, guys? So I hope that this is resonating, because it might be too deep for most people. I feel that I've made the message. I feel that I've I feel that I've done the best I could to articulate what I'm trying to convey. All right. But it's so real. It's so real. And the time has come, right? The time has come for us to know thyself. All right. To know yourself, to know thyself really is a big deal. If you don't find yourself happy in this lifetime, and let's just say, regardless of financial metrics, let's just say, regardless of if you are super, regardless of your financial condition, most people, let me back up here. It's very likely that people, even with the abundance of wealth, are not happy. They're not fulfilled. All right. Money does not bring and guarantee happiness or fulfillment, and neither does all the other things in life. All right. What does bring happiness is when you feel that you're on the right track, when you feel that you're making progress in your life to be better. Right? When you are progressing forward All right. When you are progressing forward with the intention, the deliberate intention, when you are conscientiously aware, when you have the self-awareness to know where you are, how you're moving this needle along this line, this journey, right? You become empowered. You gain true self-esteem, true self-empowerment, true confidence. Not fake confidence, not the fake it till you make it, not the one where you're like, oh, waiting for everybody else to tell you how good you did, and validate you. Not that kind, because that type, when they're not there to validate you, what happens? You fall short and you fall defeat, right? If you are depending upon, if you purposely tie, right, or unconsciously tie your happiness, your level of fulfillment, how you feel inside, if you constantly tie that to the outside world, then you will never find happiness. Does that make sense, guys? If you are waiting in very dire need of another person externally, outside of yourself, outside of thyself, to validate you, to tell you how good of a job you did, right? And you are waiting on those moments to feel you did a good job, then you will never find happiness. You will always feel unfulfilled. You will always feel empty and hollow inside. Guys, that's the reality, all right? That's the reality. Does that make sense? Sorry. Oh, my ice cubes are falling. All right. Sorry. It makes sense so far, guys? All right. We're gonna keep moving. We're gonna keep moving it forward. Got my Sprite. All right. All right. So as we keep going with this topic here, make sure that I'm not explaining nothing over here. Okay. So if you really are looking to seek betterment for yourself, right? If you're on the journey of either one, knowing who you really are, number two, self-discovery, number three, maybe you just want to have a better life, right? Regardless of what your intention is, your purpose is, the only way to get there is to really, be with yourself alone in quiet solitude and witness yourself in experiences. So let's assume you're with a social situation, all right? If for those who are more extrovert, okay? Or even if you're an introvert and you're in a situation, right? You want to be able to observe yourself, okay, in the social experience. You have to be willing to witness yourself, observe yourself, okay, without being critical, okay? Here's the key. You don't want to jump to bias and conclusion on oneself, because first you want to accumulate data for yourself, all right? You want to see what's happening. You want to ask yourself why you might feel a certain way, why you're thinking a certain way, right? The senses are leading you a certain way. You want to ask yourself within yourself as you're in a moment of time, right? If you feel a certain way, why, right? Ask yourself that, right? Sit with that information for yourself and try to go as deep as you can. Well, why might that be happening? What could have been, maybe XYZ situation triggered you, but you want to get to the core of it, because when you get to the core of it, then you can understand the deeper parts of you that maybe are in your blind spot right now. All right. This is more effective usually in real social environments. So like in person, it's more effective with family and friends because they know you so well and you know them, and it happens so quick. You're like, wait a minute, it happened so fast. You know what I mean? But I've done this so many times in my life. I always see it happen. I play it out. I'm like, oh my God, you have to laugh at yourself. You have to chuckle at yourself. You have to have fun with the process, because You don't want to be, beating yourself up the whole time. I knew better, I known better, but I still did it, But that's one more step of conscious awareness and self-awareness of what's happening in the process for you. It's a process, it's a journey, all right? It's not overnight. You can't learn this in a fucking month or two. You gotta be with yourself, but only if you care enough about who you are. If you don't care about who you are, then this is irrelevant, right? If you don't really desire to develop yourself, if you have no intention on growing to your better self, your next best self, the next best version of you, then none of this matters. But for those who I am speaking to, who do care about their life, who care about their future, who want to be their best self, I'm talking to you. This is your life. You get one life. You can do whatever you want in this life, right? We have free will. And every day that goes by is another day. Are you being an observer to how you're playing out life? Are you witnessing yourself in real time? And if you are, or if you get to that point, what are you noticing? What's coming up for you? You have to be willing to ask yourself those tough questions from a very detached point of view. You want the data of the information, then you can reflect, then you can later reflect internally on that data, okay? It's a balance of intuition and logic, but you don't want to go only with logic, and you don't want to only go with intuition. You have to look at what's happening in the reality, the physical reality, right? You got to pay attention. See what's happening. And earlier I began this broadcast with mirror work. So for those who missed that part of this, I will highlight a little bit about that again because it's significant. Most people, majority of humanity, right? We don't really care enough about who we are to ourselves, okay? We care more about what so-and-so thinks of me, what that person or that group or that institution, or we care more about the accomplishments, the achievements, the titles, the accolades of X, Y, and Z, right? That's how we're wired. It's humanity. Don't be upset about it. That's how we are wired as the collective, right? The collective is wired. Society is set up that way. So don't beat yourself up if you find yourself chasing achievements, or looking for those elements external outside of yourself. Just the better way to grow from this is to understand that that's a reality. It's present, right? But you're no longer gonna let yourself be run by seeking that, right? To affirm who you are. Those things can still take place, but you want to come into oneself. You're not gonna want to depend and rely upon that to affirm who you are. You affirm who you are. You come into your own personal power. You have to have personal sovereignty, all right? Without personal sovereignty, you're dependent on outside forces. What happens when shit hits the fan? What are you gonna do with yourself? Be in disarray and chaos? You can't live like that. That's not normal. That's not healthy. That's not a mature way to live. All right. So, and it's okay if you're there. Like, the point here is not to like discriminate and say, well, you shouldn't be there. No, the point is for me to give you the insight and the wisdom to bring up relevant information that maybe will get you thinking about how you are, wired, how your mindset might be playing a part in your life, right? How are you perceiving the world? How do you feel dependent upon the outer world perceiving you? Where do you stand there? Where are you on that little equation? All right. It's food for thought to help empower you to look at the parts that have been hidden, repressed, oppressed. All right. And mirror work, as I began to talk about a little bit before, mirror work, which is so empowering. Oh my gosh. I told you guys, when I first began this broadcast, I talked about mirror work. People really underrate this situation. Or it's a process called mirror work. Go Google it if you want to. Mirror work. The founder of that process, I believe, was Louise Hay from Hay House. Okay, what a beautiful soul. She's no longer alive, you know. But when you are able to go into a mirror in your bathroom, no one has to be there. No one's listening. You're just there. It's you and you. No one's there. It's you and you. Okay, quiet the mind. Quiet it down. Have some lights on so you can see yourself in the mirror, right? And in this process, this is where it is. Let me tell you right now. This is the key. If you're listening, if your conscious brain is awake, right, and you're hearing the message, you're going to hear it. All right, I'm going to say it. You're going to hear it. I really mean this. Most of us, you know, deal with the lack of self-love. Okay. Now, no one wants to admit that, but that is a reality. All right. And even if you think you love yourself, you may not really know if you really do. Yes, you can say you love yourself. Of course. Who would say they don't, right? No one's going to say they don't love themselves, but you got to get to the core of yourself. How do you do that? By doing some mirror work. You go into the mirror, do it at night, morning, wherever you feel the most, you know, comfortable, do it. And what happens in that moment, it's a turning point. It's a pivoting point. It's a crossroad, because you get to a different element of the reality of yourself that you can no longer deny and suppress. So I'm going to walk us through one more time what that looks like. But before I do that, let me check in with you guys. If you're here in the chat, guys, let me know if you are enjoying this commentary for this segment. Let me know if this is resonating with you guys, and how you're feeling. Okay, guys, let me know. All right, let's keep this rolling, okay? So, like I mentioned just moments ago, guys, with mirror work, okay, which is a very intense and vulnerable experience, okay, to place yourself into. What happens when you are in the mirror with yourself? Now, most people have never heard of this or done this before. So when you can have some quiet time when no one's around you, right? You go into the mirror, right? You go into the mirror and you face yourself in the mirror, okay? And in that moment of time, like, so I'll pretend it's me. I have done this process, so I can do this. So you go in the mirror, right? No one's around you, no one's there. But with your voice out loud, with your vocal, with your throat chakra, without you go out there and you say it. No one's there with you, but use your voice to talk to yourself here, and you say, Katrina, I love you. And pause. Okay? Pause, because you want to see how you feel. If you don't feel anything, you say it again. Katrina, I love you. You wait. And you say it again. Katrina, I love you. You wait. And you say it again. Katrina, I love you. And you wait. And you do this several times. And each time you're saying this to yourself as you are looking at your eyes in the mirror. Don't look at your face. Don't look at your lips. don't know, you look at your eyes. You are looking to see yourself in the mirror. You want to go into the soul of who you are, okay? And sometimes when people do this, they look at their hair, they look at their eyebrows, their face, their this, and then immediately they go into thinking like, well, I don't look good in the mornings. No. You want to go there with the intention. The intention, the sole intention is to look yourself in the soul, in the eyes, and tell yourself, Katrina, I love you. And you stay there. And you don't move your eyes from your eyes. You keep your eyes on yourself. You want to get to the soul of you, your soul, okay? And you do it several times until you probably break down and cry. Because once you can break through all those layers, right? Once you get to the distraction, oh, my hair looks like this, and my eyebrows, and my face, and you know, I don't know why I'm doing this. Of course I love myself. When you get through all that rhetoric and you get to the soul of you, it's so magical. So magical. Hi, Joy. So guys, that wraps up this broadcast. I hope that you guys enjoyed the new beginnings in Scorpio season, guys. It was a pleasure for me to be here with you guys. It was a pleasure. It really, truly was. I'm always grateful and honored when those who come show up when I'm live. Now, this one's very, at least I'm in Central Time, so you know the hours will vary, but I'm always grateful and appreciative for those who are able to come up and join me when they can, right? And for those who watch the replay, thank you so much for watching the replay. Thank you in advance for the thumbs up, the support. That's how you support me, is by giving the video a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing and make the bell, put the bell like make the bell be like filled in. That way you get notified, right? It's hard these days with YouTube to be notified of the people when they go live stream or when they're having a new video. It's difficult. So if you want to support me in the channel, that's all I ask of you, to give me this thumbs up if you support my content, and subscribe, right? But as always, guys, much love and much light, all right? Thank you.